Thank you, Doctor. Last month, just as governorship aspirants on the platform of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA, were preparing to contest the party's governorship primary ahead of Anambra polls, fissures began to appear within the party. The cracks and the eventual fractionalization of APGA have seen the party hold 2 primaries to select candidates that will participate in the forthcoming elections in the southeastern states. The former Central Bank of Nigeria Governor, Prof Charles Chukwuma Soludu, was announced winner of APGA's governorship primaries held on June 23rd. However, a week after, a faction of the party held another primary from which Hon Chukwuma Umeoji emerged as a candidate of the party for the Anambra poll. Expectedly, the confusion and ensuing court cases have forced the Independent National Electoral Commission to change APGA's candidates for the election with alarming alacrity. For a better understanding of the wrangling that has split the party and threatened to torpedo its dominance in Anambra, where it has held sway for 14 years, we are now being joined by the National Legal Advisor of APGA, Sly Ezeokenwa. Welcome to the show. What is happening in Anambra State? What is happening? Can I ask you, who is the candidate of APGA in the forthcoming elections?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Ruben. I can tell you authoritatively that the candidate of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, as nominated or as submitted by the All Progressives Grand Alliance on the 2nd day of July 2021, is Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludu. And with respect to the right of a political party to nominate candidate, INEC knows the authentic party executives of APGA, and it was to the national chairman of APGA, as duly recognized by INEC, Chief Dr. Victor Ikoye, that INEC duly issued the relevant forms for the submission of the names and particulars of the candidates of APGA, talking about the governorship candidate and the deputy governorship candidate. And in line with that, the party duly uploaded the nomination, because by extant INEC regulations, you upload it online as well as do physical submission at the official headquarters of INEC in Abuja, and the party duly complied with it. So as far as we are concerned, the party candidate of APGA is Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludu and no other person.
Well, a visit to the INEC website says otherwise, even as at this moment, the governorship candidate for APGA remains Michael Umeoji. But tell us, APGA has just one state in Nigeria, which is Anambra State. How did you manage to get it so wrong? How did you get to this legal quagmire with a party with just one state? What went wrong?
I can tell you that on the 16th day of July, which was the official date that INEC stipulated in their timetable for the publication of the names of candidates that were supposed to participate at that election, up until the 15th, the name of Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludu was still on INEC website as the official candidate of APGA. Subsequently, we were informed that following a court order, that INEC removed the name of Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludu. That is why, if you get to that list published by INEC, you will see that beside it there is a stipulation as to court order. What does this imply? This implies that this is not the candidate nominated by the party, but there has been a subsequent order or a purported order of a court saying, no, this person is not the candidate. You have to put in another person. Incidentally, INEC, in arriving at that decision, said they were relying on a particular judgment purportedly delivered by His Lordship Honorable Justice Musa Obale of a Jigawa State High Court. Now, as a law-abiding party, we've gone to Jigawa and we've gotten the processes and the judgment of the court. And I can tell you that INEC has no business or any reason whatsoever saying that they are relying on that judgment to publish the name of any other person as the candidate of APGA. I will tell you why before I come to your question on how APGA as a party got it wrong. I can tell you we did not get anything wrong. you cannot use the antics of mischief makers to begin to impute it on the personality or conduct of a political party. No. APGA, under the leadership of Chief Dr. Victor Ikoye, acted in accordance with the law. And in trying to do that, I think the best thing I would do at this point, so that we get all our viewers and audience clear on the position of APGA leadership. I can tell you equally, we've seen some persons, some paid agents, appearing on television to make certain postulations that the court in Jigawa has sacked the national chairman, and that as far as they are concerned, that the court has said that the acting national chairman of APGA is Chief Jude Okeke. Now, I will advise us one thing. When a lawyer appears in court, or when a lawyer appears on live TV or on any other fora, and you're talking about processes or judgment of court, it will sound very, very absurd for the person to be discussing processes or judgment of a court of competent jurisdiction empty-handed. So when I'll be making point, I'll be referencing judgment delivered by the court, reading out relevant portions in that judgment. And when you read out relevant portions in that judgment, that is the only way you can appreciate the conclusions or the orders reached by the court, and not personal idiosyncrasies or reasoning. So as I am now, I am Sly, I cannot substitute my knowledge and opinion for the decision of the court. You can only get the decision of the court when you get the certified true copy of the judgment of the court, and you read out from it and you find what did the court arrive in this situation. Now, in this whole debacle that we found ourselves in APGA, a man, let me get the judgment delivered by the High Court in Jigawa. One Alhaji Rabiu Garba Aliyu approached the court to say that I'm the Deputy National Chairman not. And by being the Deputy National Chairman not, that since the NEC, that is the National Executive Committee of APGA, has suspended the former National Chairman, Chief Edozie Njoku, mind you, not Chief Victor Oye, that since Chief Edozie Njoku has been duly suspended, that he is the next in line to become the acting national chairman of the party. Now, that was the claim of Alhaji Rabiu Garba Aliyu before the Jigawa High Court. In other words, the executives of APGA, headed by Chief Dr. Ike Victor Oye, were not mentioned in any manner whatsoever in the Jigawa matter. So, the court was circumscribed with respect to the claim, because a court must be confined to the claims brought by a plaintiff before it. The court cannot go outside the ambit of the case submitted by a plaintiff for adjudication. That is a trite principle of law. Now, in arriving at that, let me read Relief 1, which was sought by the plaintiff in this case. He says, 1. A declaration that the National Convention of the APGA held on 31st May 2019 at Owerri, Imo State. I don't even want to go into the issues of territorial jurisdiction, which has bedeviled this matter. Let me leave it at that. He said, Imo State, wherein the plaintiff was duly elected as Deputy National Chairman not of the party, was conducted, held, or carried out in total compliance with the constitution of the party, extant orders and or judgment of the court, and therefore valid, lawful, and legitimate. It was this particular relief that formed the fulcrum of the case of the plaintiff before the Jigawa State High Court. Every other thing flowed from this relief. Now, Mr. Ruben, I can tell you, the court, this is the decision of the court. He said, on the whole, therefore, the action of the plaintiff fails and is hereby dismissed. By implication, the major fulcrum of the case by all the parties, including Jude Okeke, which is for the court to uphold the validity of the National Convention of APGA, held or purportedly held on the 31st day of May 2019 in Owerri, the court dismissed this relief. In other words, the court failed to pronounce on the validity of that convention. You cannot place something on nothing. Since the court has dismissed this particular relief, every other thing ought to go away with it. Because Jude Okeke is claiming to be the Deputy National Chairman to Edozie Njoku. He has never claimed to be the Deputy National Chairman to Chief Dr. Victor Ikoye. By the way, I'll come to the issue of these two, the competing rights of these purported factions. And in doing that, let me address it now. APGA, on the 31st day of May 2019, conducted its national convention in Anambra State, because that was the basis of all these agitations. That convention was duly monitored by INEC. At the end of the convention, the team led by INEC, this is the INEC report. If you look at it, it said, Independent National Electoral Commission, All Progressive National Convention Report. With respect to the convention of the party held on the 31st day of May. This is INEC report. And the INEC team was headed by a woman, Professor Antonia Simbine. This is their report. This report contains notices given to INEC for that convention, motions and reports, and every other thing. It was at this convention that the executives or the current national officers of APGA were elected. Subsequently, a man, Chief Edozie Njoku, now claimed that the party never stated that it will hold convention in Anambra, that the party said it will hold a convention in Owerri. And we asked him, present one document where APGA gave INEC notice that it will hold its convention in Owerri. He could not present one.
Sly.
Not even one.
Sly.
Now, okay.
Sly, okay,
yes.
We get all of this. We dealt with this issue also yesterday.
Yes.
We had a guest here who tried to take us
yes.
through the crisis. But look, it's not only APGA
yes.
that has problems with the primaries. INEC,
yes.
after the 2019 election,
yes.
one of the outcomes of the consultative
yes.
meetings that INEC held was that, look, political parties should pay close attention to primaries before, you know, the 2023 election or any other election, whether on cycle or off cycle.
Okay.
Apparently, it looks like the political class has not listened. Now, in the case of Anambra, the problem is not just with APGA. We have seen also similar problems in PDP. We have seen similar problems in APC.
Yes.
Now, what exactly is the problem, in your view, with Anambra politics, even beyond APGA, which you advise? Is it about the political class? Are there certain things we need to know about the Anambra gubernatorial election before November 6th that is the source of this extreme tension in Anambra politics?
I can tell you, Ruben, the major problem with politicians is that selfish tendency that it must be me. Look, the Supreme Court has held as far back as 1980-something in the Popular Authority of Okafor and Nweke that a political party is supreme. And the court ordinarily ought not to interfere in the internal affairs of a political party. That is on one side. Now, secondly, a political party, in conducting its affairs and activities, must confine itself strictly in line with the stipulations contained in their constitution as well as their guideline if it wants to conduct a primary election. Now, like you rightly said, there seems to be issues bedeviling virtually all the political parties, or the major political parties or the major key actors in the Anambra political scene. But I can tell you that my concern predominantly now is with respect to APGA. PDP, they have their own issues because if you probably observed very well, prior to their primaries, there were issues here and there with regards to, there were various court pronouncements on who constitutes the proper Congress or the delegates that were supposed to vote at the primary. And in a bid to circumvent various court decisions, PDP decided to come out with what they called super delegates. So that is one issue on one side. APC, we've seen the INEC report clearly stating that there was no primary election with respect. So on one side, you have the selfish tendencies of of individuals who are aspiring to lead or to contest elective offices specified under the Constitution. And on one side, you see the rascality of certain political parties with respect to their activities. We in APGA as a party is a party that is very responsible. And why do I say this? Prior to this election, what we did was to place before us relevant laws and regulations made by INEC guiding the conduct of election. and in that regard, they talk about the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Electoral Act. Then INEC in 2018 released what they called Regulations and Guidelines for the Conduct of Political Parties Primaries 2018. We placed this document together because in interpreting the provisions of the law, every relevant document must be read as a whole. And when you read them, you now come to the conclusion with respect to certain stipulations of the regulatory body, because INEC is the regulatory body regulating the affairs of all political parties by virtue of the provisions of the Constitution. Now, another issue affecting the political scene in Anambra State is the seeming interference of INEC. I have to make this point, and I don't want to be pretentious about it. INEC as a body by the Constitution is a regulatory body, and it should not interfere in the affairs of a party. It should remain neutral, and it should remain unbiased. A situation where you see INEC begin to interpret the probably or purported orders of a court or judgment outside the strict confines of that order leaves much to be desired. So, in doing all these things, you apportion blames as they are due. In the case of APGA, I always say it, I blame INEC to a reasonable extent. Why? INEC has not shown that neutrality or unbiasedness in the affairs of APGA. And I will tell you this for a reason. Now, even before we talk about this Jigawa judgment, because INEC said we are relying on that a high court in Jigawa has issued a judgment, at the end of the primary election, an aspirant who was disqualified by the party travels all the way to Jigawa, evading all the bandits on the way, get to Jigawa, file a suit in respect of issues and activities that took place in Anambra State, and purportedly got a judgment. Now, what is INEC supposed to do? Prior to this, on the 18th day of November 2020, with respect to the issue of the National Convention of APGA, a high court in Awka on the 18th day of November, because some of these guys who have been going about making all sorts of frivolous claims, have been saying that, the judgment that was delivered first in time was the judgment of the High Court of Jigawa. I can tell you that on the National Convention of APGA, with regards to which of these conventions, whether held in Owerri or Awka, which one is the valid convention, a High Court of Anambra State on the 18th day of November 2020 delivered a judgment in clear terms, upholding the congresses of APGA of May 2019 and the National Convention. Let me read out the orders made by the court on that 18th day of November. It says, it is hereby declared that the defendants in this matter were APGA and the national chairman, Ozombu Dr. Victor Ikoye, who was sued for himself and on behalf of the National Working Committee of APGA. Now, what did the court say? The court said, it is hereby declared that the defendants obeyed and complied strictly with the APGA Constitution and the 1999 Constitution as amended in the conduct of APGA Congresses of May 2019 and APGA National Convention for the election of national officers of the party held on May 31, 2019 in Awka, Anambra State. Number 2, it is hereby declared that the Congresses of May 2019 that culminated to the APGA National Convention of May 31, 2019 held in Awka, Anambra State were conducted with the requisite consent and approval of the NEC pursuant to Articles 19.4 and 23.1 of the APGA Constitution. 3. It is hereby declared that the APGA NEC meeting of 14th May 2019 held at Governor's Lodge, Awka, and all the decisions taken therein by the defendants are valid, subsisting, and in accordance with the provisions of the APGA Constitution. And then finally, it is hereby declared that the APGA Congresses of May 2019 that culminated to the APGA National Convention of May and all the decisions taken thereat are valid, subsisting, and in accordance with APGA Constitution. In the face of this pronouncement by a court of competent jurisdiction, what are you now saying? You are now saying that a court comes in on the 30th of June to say that some other person is an acting national chairman when someone else, the Chief Dr. Victor Ikoye, who has been duly pronounced by the court on the 18th of November 2020, is still validly in office.
Wow.
So there shouldn't be any pretentious thing whatsoever coming from INEC, because INEC has shown clearly that it has interest in the affairs of APGA. And INEC, like I said earlier on, had no business whatsoever
Well, Sly,
Because,
we get your
and
point.
I have to make this point.
No, except that we've run
Okay.
out of time, and it's just left for us to thank you very much for joining us. But you can be sure that we'll keep an eye on developments in Anambra as all of you prepare for the November 6th gubernatorial election. But thank you very much for joining us.